idea was on a comparison of 3 balance interventions for older adults: Wii Extragaming, mental practice, and a traditional balance program. My name is Anthon H.
I'm Francesca.
My name is Mona Mohammed.
My name is Wenxi L.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So we all know that in older adults, falling can be really bad for many reasons. Many of our grandparents have fallen themselves. My grandmother fell several times, and it's a really prevalent problem. So to do that, or to look at that, we have found that 1 in 4 older adults that are over the age of 65 will fall every year in the United States. That's quite a lot. My dad is 67 right now, so I'm thinking about this now that I learned this statistic. And my mom is 62, so she's not too far behind. So in addition to that, more than 800,000 patients are going to be hospitalized every year because of some sort of fall-related injury. So it's not just a few cases. And then finally, when somebody does have a fall, it doubles your chance of having a fall again. That can happen for several reasons, one of them being the injury itself. Maybe you don't fully recover from that injury. Maybe you're so afraid of falling that you won't go out, do the same things you used to do, and then because of that you lose strength, or you're so afraid that you are overly cautious. So in addition to being a prevalent problem, it's one that also has lots of health risks for those older adults. 1 in 5 of those falls will result in a broken bone or other serious injury. And in addition, falls are the most common cause of having a traumatic brain injury. So all sorts of reasons why this is a big health risk for that population. But in addition to that, there's a large economic impact from all these falls. All the medical costs combined, adjusted for inflation, total to $31 billion every single year, which that's quite a large sum of money. So if we can do something about that to bring that down, that would be great. So in addition to those health impacts and that economic impact, there's a few other additional consequences that I alluded to earlier. Fear of falling again. And in addition, loss of independence from immobilization. So that immobilization can come from maybe you fracture your hip, or you're so afraid to fall that you're not as social as you used to be. You can't do these activities of daily living. And an additional consequence of all that is that there can be a premature placement into an assisted care facility, something like that. We know that when we talk to people, maybe my grandparents' age, the last thing that they want to do is move out from home. So if in addition to keeping them healthier, keeping costs down for people, if you can keep them in the home, keep them happy, that's a great thing. So what's putting all these older adults at a greater risk for falls? Well, a couple of them. So the way their gait, the way they're walking, they're changing the center of balance. It goes higher up in their body, making them more likely to fall over. In addition, of course, as you get older, you lose muscle mass, and that will impact your trunk strength. And then with that, weakening muscles, you have a worse proprioceptive feedback, and then your reaction time gets worse, it gets higher, and all that put together, you're much more likely to fall. So not only is this a problem that's not so great now, we're also getting older as a society in the United States. So this problem has only continued to grow unless we do something about it. The median age is rising, and in addition, the total number of adults over age 65 is going to go up by about 95% in 2050. So to look at that graphically, you can really see that that's just going up and up over time. So it's a problem that we need to address. Here we go, the gap in research.
So just to address this problem and some gap in the research, so we think about older adults, and a lot of them may not have access to fitness centers or don't have technology, such as the Wii, which we're going to discuss later, to practice balance techniques on, or they have so many health issues that they're not able to exercise, and they don't have the exercise science background or don't know what exercises they should and should not be doing in order to better their balance. So what we are wondering is if mental balance can be an effective alternative for these older adults who don't have access to these facilities or are unable to exercise. So mental practice has been used a lot with young adults and also with athletes, but few studies have actually implemented mental practice with older adults. So our purpose is to find an alternative method to improve balance in the elderly population. And here we have a picture of an elderly person practicing some balance. So for our literature review, we're going to discuss mental practice, balance training, and also extragaming for balance training, such as the Nintendo Wii pictured here. So first, to talk about mental practice, kind of what it is the cognitive rehearsal of a task in the absence of an overt physical movement. So in this case, we would have the adults sitting in a chair and they would mentally practice or like imagine successfully standing up from this chair and not falling over. So that's what we would do for this part. And mental practice has been shown to have a direct effect on the central nervous system, acting as feedback in the same way that physical practice can act on the body. Also, there are different types of mental practice. So we have positive imagery, we have attention focusing, relaxation techniques, self-efficacy statements, or psyching up strategies, which are often used by athletes. But as stated earlier, for the purpose of this study, we will use a guided imagery. And it will be a guided imagery that a person, it won't be a tape, it'll be that an actual person states in front of the participants. And as stated earlier, this was not tested with older adults yet, only with athletes and the young, so we hope to implement this to the elderly population.
So for this section is traditional balance training. So traditional balance exercise is considered as an effective intervention for improving the overall balance ability among the children and adolescents and adults, also adults. And balance training involves exercise that challenge individual's ability to stabilize his or her body and maintain posture. And typical training usually use the unstable surface and narrowing the basis of supports, and also the body weight shifts and the removal of the upper body assistance and to improve the balance. And here's the common and typical types of trainings. The first is single leg balance, second tandem standing, another one is knee raises, and the fourth one is stability ball sit. The fifth one, spinal balance. The last one, balance sticks. So these are the very common and classic training types for improve the overall balance. And Extragaming for balance. So active video games and Extragaming are becoming more and more popular among children and adolescents due to their low cost and independence and ease of use at home. And as an alternative of the exercise, one such system that is increasing in the popularity in increasing the fitness and overall balance training is Nintendo Wii Plus, a commercially available gaming system. Wii Fit Plus is one of the Wii games. It's played by using a special Wii balance ball in order to perform the activities and balance trainings. And Williams, in their study, examined whether the Nintendo Wii Fit Plus was a feasible and acceptable intervention in community dwelling among older followers. The results indicated the Wii Fit has the potential to increase the overall balance and self-perceived confidence among those older adults. And our research questions, we have 3 research questions. The first one, can mental practice be an effective exercise alternative for adults to improve their balance? The second one, can Extragaming be an alternative exercise intervention to help improve balance in older adults? The third one, is there any difference between the traditional exercise intervention and Extragaming intervention to improve the balance in older adults? And next, our hypothesis. We have 2 hypotheses. Hypothesis 1, we assume that both mental practice and exercise group will perform better balance results compared to the control group. And hypothesis 2, the exercise group will have better balance than the mental practice.
So our methods, we're going to have a randomized control trial. Participants were aiming for 60 subjects, ages 65 and plus. We're going to be recruiting from 3 different senior living or nursing homes that include a fitness program. Duration, we are looking for 6 weeks, twice a week. And then for our measurements, we're going to be using Berger's balance scale, which we will measure their balance from in the beginning and then later after the intervention. And then we'll have 3 different interventions, 4 different groups. The first will get no intervention, which is the control group. The second group will have the traditional exercise intervention. The third, the Extragaming, which is the Wii. And then the fourth will be at the mental practice intervention. And participants will be randomized in one of the interventions. So what is the Berger's balance scale? It was developed to measure balance among older adults. And it has 14 different scales, such as sitting to standing, turning 360, turning to look behind. So researchers usually look how easily they can do these tasks. And for interpretation of scores, researchers will look at these 3 criteria. So they'll get a number between 1 to 4, and then later they add up the scale. So 0 to 20 is a high fall risk, 21 to 40 a medium fall risk, and then 41 to 56 is a low fall risk. And then what do we expect to find? We expect that the balance training groups, which are the traditional exercise, and the Extragaming and the mental practice group will have a significant better result than the control. We expect that the balance training group and mental practice will have similar results. And psychological relationship thinking, mental practice group will have mental intervention, meaning that they will get better well-being, mental practice, and hopefully the relationship between their peers in terms of the nursing home, that would improve. And then it'll help save costs. If we lower the risk of fall, we'll save money for insurance.
Hopefully for one more potential funding opportunity for this, we hope to get Nintendo to chip in on this a little bit, because we could be using their Wii. They might be able to benefit a lot from that, so have some sort of partnership to go along with that. So here's our list of references, and at this point, we'd like to know if you guys have any questions for us.
So what we would use for that is come up with a guided imagery script so a person, I was actually going to lead you guys through one, but I thought it would take too long. But to start, having a person sitting in a chair, and you would need relaxation techniques at first so that they could relax and really, imagine their body, and then help them imagine like their core is stable, feel the pressure through their feet, and imagine that they are standing successfully and not falling over. So we would come up with our own guided imagery script. And then I proposed, or as I said earlier, to say it rather than do a tape recording, just because as people keep going through mental practice, they can get better at it. And then the tape could end up being too slow eventually, which could make them not as interested in the mental practice or not as effective. So at least if I was saying it or someone was saying it, you can kind of adapt it to the participants.
Would all 3 interventions be run on the same time scale, or would it take longer for somebody to practice mental balance through mental practice compared to a traditional balance?
It would take different times, especially for that, compared to like the balance protocol in the Wii, which you can also change because you can pick different exercises on the Wii. So depending how long you wanted to make it, you could change it up.
So the actual test and the hypotheses would happen at different time periods based on the intervention?
Yes. Yeah.
So we're more of an Xbox family. So can you tell me a little bit about the Wii in terms of, you said you could pick exercises, but like, are they geared towards older adults, or are there certain programs for that, or how does the Wii sort of work for the actual exercise piece?
You want that?
Yeah, I can answer. So actually, I go through from the previously through review from, like I said, Williams in their study. They actually recruit 21 older adults among the community with all average age over 70, and they incorporate the Wii Fit Plus, and which they also include the the specialized weight balance board. And there's a couple of games like ski slalom and snowboard slalom, and to let the participants stand on the balance board and to avoid the obstacle and to increase indirectly to improve their balance ability. Yeah. Thank you.
So could you talk really about how the approaches you propose are different from the existence approach regarding the falling issues among all adults?
I want to take this one? I guess I'll do my best if you guys think of something, jump in. So some, one of the things that so your question was, how is this different than other ones?
Yeah.
Well, the main thing is that there's a mental practice aspect of it. As Francesca was talking about earlier, that really hasn't been done before. And part of that mental practice that we think is really important is, especially for adults who maybe don't have the resources available to them, if you can train them, maybe if they're at this assisted living facility already and they do have access to a fitness center, but if they get old enough that they're no longer able to use that, that is going to be one way, and this is a little bit more novel. And in addition, the Extragaming being used for older adults, as Kevin talked about, there's that feasibility study, but not actually looking at as many outcomes for that. You guys have anything else to add for that?